Yeah, bro. Today, The Stream meets a living legend of South African music, Vusi Mahlasela. I'm Femi Okay.
I'm Malika Bilal. We'll hear from Vusi about his music, activism, and inspirations. Send us your comments and your questions through Twitter and YouTube.
To millions of music fans, Vusi Mahlasela, who you just saw there, is a music icon. He has chronicled the lives of people in apartheid-era South Africa, as well as his hopes for justice and reconciliation post-apartheid.
Known simply as The Voice in South Africa, Vusi has released a string of studio albums and thrives as a live artist. His performance was one of the highlights at Nelson Mandela's inauguration in 1994, and musicians such as Dave Matthews Band, Paul Simon, and Sting have been inspired to work with him.
Vusi is now on a major tour called Township. It's a love letter to the music he heard in his grandmother's bar in the Mamelodi Township when he was starting out as an artist. Vusi, it's so good to have you here. Welcome. Lovely to see you.
Sister. Thank you.
I'm looking here at the Township Tour dates, October through the beginning of November. What is this tour about? What's the idea behind it?
The tour is the Township Tour, which is more about celebrating township music from South Africa. The music that I grew up, listening, especially because at the place where I grew up, my grandmother had the shebeen, what do you call it, speak easy.
Yeah.
And
not entirely legal, should we say?
No, not entirely legal.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
But there used to be quite a lot of, people, characters coming there, and then also musicians, and others singing, the a cappella range form of music, whatever. So that's where I started to be in love with music. And they were playing also some of the township music, from the vinyl, like the Dark City Sisters, Mahlatini and Mahotela Queens, the likes of Hugh Masekela, also played, some of this music here in the States as well, township music, also Mama Miriam Makeba. So it was more to celebrate township music.
Some of the great artists of South Africa.
Yes. So for us, it's just to remind ourselves, but also I want also to remind even the youth who are also into music to start to tap in, into the the DNA of our grandfathers, to that music that was there because of some of the music also with the subject matter, which is really cool and all that, and giving message to people. But we've got a variety of styles of music from Kwela, Marabi, Mbakanga, Mbube. But the township, that's what we are sort of like ready to bring right now.
You mentioned that is where you fell in love with music, and I will say that our audience is in love with you, and they have been since the beginning of your career. This is Niba here, who asked a question that you've partly just answered. He says, my question to Mr. Vusi Mahlasela, when are you releasing a new album, and what is your biggest dream for now? So we know what the new project is. It is the Township, but what was the dream behind that project in answer to Niba's question here?
Well, also it was also to celebrate and pay tribute to my grandmother because the album was recorded at my grandmother's place in Mamelodi, where the shebeen was. So just to sort of like remember, and this is like not the first time that something like this was done. In 1996, I played at La Villette Festival in Paris. And they built a special, venue for me to perform, which was called Shebeen Mamelodi.
Yeah.
That was also dedicated to that. So it's a follow-up to that, but celebrating township music as well. So, and the idea is just also with this music, to sort of like really spread the cultural evangelism, out there.
I'm looking at a picture of, it looks like your grandma's shebeen. Everybody have a look here on my laptop because it looks amazing. She looks like quite a woman. And I know when you were a youngster, you would be the lookout person. So she would be selling the booze and then you would be looking out.
Well, there's quite a lot of things that was really happening there, but also she was a very special woman and then very strict. you know, and then she didn't want me to be exposed quite a lot into those kind of scenery. Only when, you know, she permitted it, you know, that, okay, now you can be here and all that. And sometimes when the police are coming, I'll ring the bell, you know, sort of like to say,
Grandma, hide the booze.
The police are coming, you know. You know, that type of a thing, whatever. But, you know, she wanted us also to grow up as kids, you know, to be able to study, you know, be able to go to school and all that, not to be exposed quite a lot into what the adults are drinking. But when it comes to the music and everything, whatever, and the music, you know, coming, I really had to make sure that I am there, I'm watching and listening.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned a number of great South African names, Miriam Makeba, Vusi Mahlasela, a current South African band who loves working with you, the Dave Matthews Band, and you took them to Mamelodi, your township, where you live right now, and you took them there in 2014, and they were surprised at what it took for an artist during apartheid era to actually get to play their music. I'm going to play a little bit of that interview and that video that you did with them. And the video is called Scenes from South Africa, where the Dave Matthews Band pay tribute to your art. And then after that, we're going to get you to play a song called Untitled. Have a look at the Dave Matthews Band, first of all.
He had to hide his music. They had to hide their gatherings. To play music, they had to hide.
And the police also confiscating their instruments. It's a pretty intense situation when, I mean, if I'm sitting here practicing with some of the guys that come over here, and then all of a sudden police walk in and take all of my stuff, thinking that I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? You know, how can you understand anything? It's just so hard to understand anything like that, you know, and I just couldn't.
Keeping us separated for moments endless, like a gold dot lying shut between a prisoner and freedom. When we meet again, let us defy nature and become inseparable whole. Like one scattered grains of sand now become a solid rock, immovable of gaiety and love. Na 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 na. When we meet again, let us defy nature and to become inseparable whole. Like one scattered grains of sand now become a solid rock, immovable of gaiety and love.
You're listening to Vusi Mahlasela live on the stream on Al Jazeera English. Our community is enthralled. This is Clement watching live from South Africa on YouTube, who says, "This is beautiful." Clement goes on to say, "Please read this to him. We are proud of you, Baba, all the way from home in South Africa." Another person writes in on Twitter, "Vusi Mahlasela is a living legend. His music continues to talk about social issues here and in the continent." And because it's those social issues that this person brings up, it raises an issue in this tweet. This is from Becky, who says, "These songs spread across the African continent. They spoke of revolutionarism, excuse me with that word, revolutionaries, and the struggle of the natives being persecuted in their own lands." Talk to us, Vusi, with this in mind, about being a musician during the apartheid era.
Yeah, it was really quite really difficult time, and of course having to witness what was really going on. Well, I grew up being a happy kid, you know, but when 1976 came, that's when I started realizing what was really happening and asked a lot of questions. That was when there was uprising at the Soweto, the students of Soweto, you know, boycotted the language of Afrikaans as a medium of oppression, but also boycotting that thing whereby, you know, our people have been segregated because of their tribal, you know, things. That the Sotos this side, the Zulus this side, the Tswanas this side, and they said, no, this is wrong. We want to be one people. And then also that, you know, everything that at the school we have to do, like biology, mathematics in Afrikaans. What about our own language? So that time, the students of South Africa turned the politics of South Africa really upside down. The students did that, and I was 11 years old then, so I started asking questions what was really happening. This also escalated to Mamelodi, where the students in Mamelodi also have to like really support those students. And in 1984, I saw also that, you know, it was really difficult, whereby there were a lot of Caspers in Mamelodi. Police, armies with horses and Caspers and all that.
Caspers are like giant tanks, big yellow tanks that were used to terrorize people who lived in the township. When you see one, just to see one, it's terrifying.
It's terrifying, and helicopters as well. Yeah. You know, and then Mamelodi was the only township in South Africa where all this was deployed. You know, the Caspers and the horses and the police vans and the helicopters
to control South Africans.
Because Mamelodi, they were sort of like, Mamelodi was like the most, you know, when they look at Mamelodi, they said, you know, quite a lot of people also who were very political, and some, you know, left the country. 80% were coming from Mamelodi. And of course, we've got Solomon Mahlangu, you know, who was hanged as well from Mamelodi. Township.
So I've also got a picture here of you, and this is not so long after that. This is 1986, so you were, what, 21 at that time, in your early 20s? And this is your passbook, which again speaks to how you couldn't move freely around your own country. So what does that mean for your music? What happened to your music during that time?
Well, we couldn't sort of like really play freely in open places. Of course, yes, one was playing quite a lot on political platforms and political rallies and so on. And then our music was not even sort of like really sold or played on the radio, you know. That really gave me more reason to say, you know, one has to like really find. Because at point, you know, there were times where they were confiscating some of our instruments, even our writings. So for me, I said, well, they can take our writings, but the poetry, everything that I wrote, it was here. They take the papers, but they cannot take, because I memorize what I've written.
Toilet paper?
Yes, there was incidents whereby, you know, in solitary confinement, whatever, so you're just there, and there's nothing in there. They only just, sometimes they put a Bible, but when you are arrested for putting, they don't put anything. You just, you know, a prison warder was very much understanding, smuggle in, you know, that thing, and then, Untitled, that we just performed, was written. It's a poem that was written.
Wow.
Yes, it's a poem. It's more about the pain of separation, you know, when being separated with your people.
It's interesting because you talk about the past, and I think that is what is resonating with our audience here, the idea that your music today in the present and in the future has this link, this very strong link to encourage people to remember their history. We got this comment from a poet herself who says that you and your work inspired her to become a poet. Her name is Philippa Yadi Villiers. She works at Wits University, and she says, Vusi's true voice rang out from Mamelodi to Sweden and beyond. As an African, he embodies a skillful play between the present moment and the massive sound archive, which is his legacy. A sound archive which encapsulates the spiritual, political, and social values of the oldest humans on the planet. A sound archive. Do you think that there's a danger that that might end, that not enough people are doing that?
I don't know if I maybe understand the question fully, but I think,
relying on history and bringing that forward to the new generations, make sure that they understand it as well.
Definitely. We are still doing that, and also even for the young ones, so that we just do that and bring some kind of a cultural revolution, to them, that they understand where we come from, where we are right now, and where we are going. But also, I also use the word that, even if when we're traveling all over, we are spreading the cultural evangelism. So that, when you're talking culture and all that, that it's important for people to be able to be proud of who they are, and not things being taken from them, whatever, or whatever. They must just be able to bring them out and, talk about it freely and all that. So we are still doing it and encouraging, quite a lot of, even a lot of youth to do this. And then the writers, that they must not be afraid to criticize their leaders or criticize their governments. Even, musicians, write like the way I'm doing is at Troubadour, we are doing that. We have to be there as watchdogs and then say things that are not,
Mm-hmm.
So many people want to work with you. They want to collaborate with you. And I want to tell our audience why, because of when you're in a stadium and you're playing your music, this is beautiful and it's very mellow what you're playing for us on the stream. But when you're in front of a big crowd, this is what it looks like. Let's go back to Nelson Mandela's 90th birthday. Have a look.
To make reference one day, and I sang, My boo, ye Africa. Sing now, Africa. Sing loud, sing to the people. Let them give something to the world. More than just to take it from it.
This is the bells when you come back. Will beat the drums when you come. And Mandela was there, watching, and it was so moving.
This is why you're called The Voice. When did people start calling you The Voice, and how is that to be called The Voice of South Africa?
Well, I think maybe there's about two things here, whatever, that to be called The Voice, we have to be to disguise during the time of apartheid, so that you don't use your real name. Some of my other comrades change their names. If maybe like Vusi, they will change it into Isuf and whatever. So
that's not that tricky. That's just Vusi backwards.
That's right.
I could crack that.
Mahlasela will be Ale Salaham.
Yeah.
But I was named The Voice because of my singing voice and all that, but also it was rubber stamped also by the subject matter that I bring into my music as well.
There's a question here for you on YouTube. Lethabo says, I wonder how he feels about popular music today. And I'll extend that out to, what do you think about performing artists and if there's enough support for them today?
Well, in this case, I'll sort of maybe focus a bit on my country, whereby, okay, there is still a lot that needs to be done in terms of, getting the support, especially from the culture department and so on, whatever, so that we should get those people who can come out and then, be the voice that we are. And then the likes of massacre and then the arts needs to be supported because it's very much important. Culture plays quite a lot of important role and music in the society. So that needs to be supported equally like education and then health, We cannot separate that, and But this is the problems that we are facing, whereby the arts are just getting support and everything, whatever. So we need to see more support happening in that regard.
One of the songs that you play on tour and that people love is Say Africa.
Yeah.
You're going to play that for us at the end of our show. But can you explain what it's about? What is the sentiment behind Say Africa?
Well, the sentiment in Say Africa, it's more of trying to bring the concept and the philosophy of Ubuntu.
I knew you were going to say that. I'm so glad.
Which is the philosophy that we share, all of us in Africa, from Cape to Cairo, everywhere. We're saying it in different languages and all that, but it's a way of life. As a troubadour traveling all over and all that and everything, whatever, of course I'm saying this.
Is kindness a good enough way to describe Ubuntu?
It's actually more than that. It's not just that one hit wonder. It's you are because I am. I am because you are. It's about everyday's kindness, like you're saying, helpfulness, love, empathy, sympathy, togetherness, humbleness, respect, forgiveness, reconciliation, redistributions of morals, knowledge, and skills, redistributions of wealth.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
we are going to get you to perform that, because at this day and age, it feels like we need a lot more of that in our lives around the world. So Vusi, I want you to go and set up. While you set up, we are going to say some more nice things about you, and then you're going to play us out with Say Africa. Thank you so much, Vusi.
Thank you very much.
Go and set up.
Our community is excited that we are ending with this song. This is Vu on Twitter, who says, "My favorite song is Say Africa. It provokes reflection about Africa as a continent. Her produce are exported abroad and imported back to Africa to be sold to Africans. Africa is the exploited land of milk and honey."
Vusi Mahlasela is currently on tour in North America, around the United States. If you look here on my laptop, you can see the current dates that he's still got to play in Charlottesville, in Toronto, in Chicago as well. And he is going to play us out with a number called Say Africa, which unites Africans around the world. Take it away, gentlemen.
We crossed Zimbabwe's border, flew over the dry fields of my homeland, coming into Joburg, the sun-tanned swimming pools and the Soweto shacks, airports and railway stations, stranded with a rucksack and guitar. The languages and the places change, and the sky has different stars. I may be walking in the streets of a city called Amsterdam, but the dust on my boots and the rhythm of my feet and my heartbeat say Africa. I may be walking in the streets of a city called London, but the dust on my boots and the rhythm of my feet and my heartbeat say Africa. Say Africa. Say Africa. Say Africa. Say Africa. Sticks and stones and the UN loans and the passport controls for countries that don't exist. It's a big world, they have their own problems, everyone. And there's gold in that clenched fist. People ask me where I'm Lordy Township in a city called Tshwane, meaning we are the same. I have a friend who's a great musician and is from Ebayi, near King Williamstown. You know where Steve Biko was born? You might have read or seen a film about Africa. You know, it's a big continent with a great gift of Ubuntu. I may be walking in the streets